What's up, guys? This is Westpoint Steve. We are going to do a submission video for Final Fight 2. We are going to show you the Carlos Expert Percent run. This is a difficult run. It's not an easy run whatsoever, especially in Final Fight. If you're familiar with the game, Final Fight games are not easy unless you know certain strategies. And we're going to show you what we can do with Carlos and how this is set. This run that I'm about to show you was actually set a few days ago. Is just set recently by myself. It's a sub-hour run. It's a 57:46 run on Expert, and we're gonna go through the whole run and talk about some things we do and important things that go on in the run that are needed for this entire game under Carlos. So here we go. We're gonna showcase this run. So get on right into it. So Final Fight 2 has 3 different characters. You have Hagar, Carlos, and can't think of her name right off the top of my head. I don't want to butcher it. Maki, that's right. There you go. So we're going to play with Carlos, and what Carlos has is he has a nice little stun lock, and so we're going to utilize a stun lock for most of this game. And what it is, it's a 2-punch stun lock. So what I do is, which either side, doesn't matter which side I'm on, I'm going to utilize this 2-punch stun lock to get enemies locked in place and take them out pretty easily. Now sometimes I'll add in into the stun lock if there's one enemy that I'm focused on, that I'll grab them and do a couple hits, hopefully. Sometimes the button will mess up, but just like what I did there, I did some punches and then I grabbed and then did some hits. Those hits actually are a little bit more damage, but it's also time consuming because you put characters on the ground, and we'll talk about that here soon, about why I'm doing this stun lock. So here we go. So what I'm doing is I'm doing 2 punches really quickly, and it's very taxing on the fingers. Let's just put it that way, and we'll talk about why it's going to be taxing, especially in this run. It's going to be very taxing to see how well I can do this. But here we go. So what I'm doing is, again, I'm hitting the action button twice, and that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to grab any items. I'm trying to get the guy to get rid of the item. But what I'm trying to do is I'm hitting twice, and I'm stun locking the enemy. And as I'm doing that, as I'm punching twice, I'm moving my direction pad in the other direction after the second hit really quickly, and then moving it back in place. And what it does, it cancels the combo animation that you would normally perform. And so that's what we're doing right here with Carlos. We are doing 2 punches and then cancel the combo attack that he would normally do, and that's why we're keeping the enemies in a stun lock phase. And so since we're doing this really quickly, the enemies are stuck in that animation, and I'm able to get rid of enemies really quickly by doing that stun lock move. And this will work for almost every single boss fight as well. And we'll talk about why it will almost work for every single boss fight in a second. But this is round 1. Round 1 is set up in China, and so what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to find Hagar's friends. Hagar's friends have been taken and captured, and Guy's girlfriend from the first game has been captured, and so is her father. And so what they're set off to do right now is they're set off to find their friends and try to save them. And so right now they're trying to figure out where they're at. So right now we're starting off in Japan, and not Japan, China. And so our first destination is in China, and this stage is pretty self-explanatory. It basically shows almost every single enemy you're going to deal with throughout the game, and then some. So the easy enemies, and we'll go through the sets of easy enemies. The easy enemies are going to be like the Mix, the Marks, and the Bulls. And those guys are very simple, the easy takeout. They don't do much of you or anything like that. Then you have these Atlases and Johnnies. These guys are really huge, and these guys have a block feature that is not fun to deal with. And we'll talk about that later, because there's a section where in the game where you just deal with Johnnies and Atlases, and we'll tell you why that sucks in just a little while. We also have Eliases and Elliots, and these guys are guys who just move around all over the place, and they move pretty quickly. So trying to get them in the stun lock is very important because you'll have to like seriously move really really fast to get them. And here's an Elliot, and this guy is going to move up and down. These guys usually go to the top of the screen and then to the bottom of the screen, and it'll definitely be a pain in the butt later in the game because their health values go higher and higher. And the same thing with the Atlases and Johnnies. And then we have the Andors. The Andors are a pain in the butt, and you'll see these guys over and over and over again. Andors are going to have health values that are extremely high in the expert and in the expert mode. So we're off to our first boss fight, and this is Wan Wan, and this boss fight is pretty easy, but at the same time it's also pretty hard. And the reason why it gets hard is because of these enemies that spawn. And so what you want to do is you want to set Wan Wan into this stun lock like so. But when you have enemies on the screen and enemies who get in the way, it also doesn't help us because the enemies will do that. They'll get behind us and they will try to get us out of the stun lock feature that we're trying to perform on the boss fight. So right now, this is what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get to this boss fight this easily, and I'm trying to get Wan Wan to stay in a stun lock, but it's not working out. And so what we just have to do is we just have to improvise as we go along. We just have to deal with what we're given. And so right here, I'm finally able to get a good stun lock here, and then use my special too early, but then there he goes, he's down. This game definitely is in the beginning phases of more world record paces. I'm pretty sure we can get another world record pace given some good luck and some good boss fights. So this will definitely be something to look for, even if this run is played. And so this is a good possibility that a world record could be set with this game under this category due to the fact of, one, it's not played much in a category. It's in the starting phases for me at least, as I'm getting into the game myself. And secondly, it's definitely something that can already be improved upon, just due to the fact that there's not many runs of it. So it's going to be very interesting to see what can happen if this run gets submitted, actually gets into any marathon. And so be good to see. Now, a set of enemies that I didn't mention are the Leons and the Roberts. And these guys are just a pain in the butt. And we'll go into the reason why they're a pain in the butt here momentarily as we get another character out. But there's the Elias, and I was just mentioning earlier how Elias is, you have to go really quickly with them or they get out, and they did. He did right there. Okay, so now we're coming over to the first end of the first section. And again, Andors are going to be a big feature. Another interesting thing about the expert mode is that there's always more enemies and higher health values for the enemies. And so as we go further and further into the game, the enemies will spawn with higher health values. And there's a good section right there where I was just getting triples of just a stun lock, and that was really good. When an enemy gets into a stun lock, it's really hard to keep the stun lock going. And you'll see many times that an enemy will come in and he'll get in there and he'll be like, okay, I'm into your stun lock, and then all of a sudden another enemy joins in and then it changes it and then messes up and makes the combo happen. And that happens a lot throughout this run, as you can see right there, as I believe the Elijah came in there and messed up the stun lock. And so there we go. And then see, as you can see, the Johnny came in there and messed up the stun lock as well. Another set of characters that is hard to deal with is the Elix. And the Elix have these like bars that will send forth electricity and they will try to shock you, but then they'll be on and they'll be off at the same time. And so sometimes they'll be on and sometimes they'll be off. If they're on, it can be really damaging to the character if it gets hit by it. And you'll see me a couple times get hit by the Elix because they will just they're just a pain. Andors again. You'll see Andors a lot to finish up certain spots throughout the game. There's another Atlas. There's another Elias. So Jax and Shots are the other guys who are who the yellow and the green guys. They will come in time to time, and those guys are just as bad because they will just hover around you for a little bit, and then all of a sudden they'll decide, oh, there's me getting shocked by Elic. But they'll hover around you, and then they'll come in and join in and mess up your stun lock attack that you're just doing very good at, and then all of a sudden it'll put you into a combo. And so here goes a shot right here, guy, and see he came right in and then took out my stun lock that I was just doing on those guys. So that's the unfortunate thing about about this game. But you can lock multiple enemies up, and like I'm doing right here with these Andors, I have both Andors together, and I'm just now put this Andor into a stun lock mode. Notice that I've now locked the Elliot up in the top corner, and that's actually a really good thing because then he won't come down and hit me and get me out of the stun lock. Alright, we're near the final part to round 2 here. We're in France. Failed to mention that, but that's okay. We're in France, and so again, here's a shot, and then he just messed up my whole stun lock routine there. Alright, Leon. There's one of the reasons why Leons suck is Leons will come in and they will decide, hey, I'm going to mess up your stun lock, and I'm going to do that. And Elias's and Elliots do the same thing. They will come in and just mess up your stun lock. They will always try to go behind you, and then they will get around your stun lock. But if you get them like this, they're just that easy. Alright. So we're in this like hangar base right now in France, and here we go. We're trying to lock in 3 guys, but Elliots and Eliases will do this many times throughout the game. They will get far enough away. There's a Robert. So there's a Robert, and Leons are do the same exact type of things. Roberts and Leons will do a jump attack, and they actually don't do anything in the air. They just jump really high, really far, and they take you out. For some reason, doing absolutely nothing in their jump attack, and they will hit you and knock you down. It's really weird how it works. It's like, okay, this guy is jumping, but he's not hitting. He's not doing any attack. He's just jumping over to me. And you'll see that later on in the run many times where I'll get hit. Atlases and Johnnies are very notorious for grabbing too. And so just right there, I got grabbed. Alright, here we go. Elijah. Then we're going to try to get this Atlas done out of the way. I figured out another strat that we can do to take care of them. You could go around them and walk and come up or down on them, or you can do a jumping attack like I just did here to get to their spot and then just grab them and hit them. That's the best way to take care of them when you're struggling with them, and so I'll do that from time to time to get rid of them. Also, another thing, boxes and barrels are going to be very important throughout the run because they help me despawn enemies, and I just recently found that out. And so this is something I don't use in this actual particular run, but in the run that I would do for the marathon, I would actually be not hitting the boxes or barrels as needed. Okay, so right now we're dealing with Freddy. Freddy's the boss of this stage. Again, we're trying to keep the stun lock going, but we got this Elias who just does not want to let this happen. He's going over to the right of me, and I'm doing the stun lock. He is not letting me do this, but good RNG right there, but then I lose it. And so this is a hard thing about keeping the stun lock going. You're doing it for so long, and it's taxing on the fingers. You're doing it for so long on these boss fights that it's really taxing on you as you're trying to keep it going, and you're trying to keep them there so you can just take them out. You want to get rid of them, and so it's really hard to keep it going. So here's one of the bonus stages. We're going to use the special attack that Carlos has, and then we're going to pick up this um, and take out this car really quickly. You want to have it at about 13 to 15 seconds left to get a good little um, car damage bonus, and then we're moving on. We're moving on to Holland. Here we go, Holland. All right, so Holland's an interesting stage. The beginning of the stage is pretty interesting because you get some landmines, and these landmines can deal pretty big damage on enemies for you. Just don't get hit by it yourself, though. So we start off with some simple dudes to start off. We get some Elliots, we get some Mix, and we get a shot there. But now we get these two Elix in the way, and these two Elix, just like that, can be a pain. If he does not have the electricity on, it doesn't hurt as much, but that one does, and it hurts a ton. So Elix are very, very notorious for ruining good areas. And then let's just take out, all these guys, and all of a sudden let's just throw in an Andor at the very, very end. So something I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to set myself up to do a nice little stun lock, and then after a while stop, and then do a grab, kick like that. And then those, like I said, those kicks actually have a little bit more damage than the punches do. And there is the reason why. As you can see, that Leon just came into the picture. That Leon, as there's so many sprites on this right now because of the landmines, that Leon did nothing. He just jumped over to you, and if I did not do my special attack, he would have just knocked me down. Alright, so what I'm trying to set up here is I'm trying to set up a despawn, and there's some areas in this game where you can actually set up despawns of enemies to get rid of them. And so this is what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to despawn these enemies and trying to move over to the next part of the screen really fast, which I actually was successful at getting rid of the Elec right there, but not the other two guys. And so then I get this nice Andor. He said, no, sir. No. And so this is a constant theme throughout the game where you'll get a whole bunch of guys coming in and out like that. Andors are probably the worst if you don't know how to handle them, but they're actually one of the easiest guys to deal with. Just keep them in the stun lock like this. And look at that. That was a nice little triple right there, getting that going. And again, I will pull off sometimes too early, and I don't want to do that. Alright, I'm getting rid of that box so I can spawn 3 guys really easily, like so. And then as you can see, that Robert just annihilated me by doing nothing on his kick. But everybody synced up really nice there, and that was actually really good portion of that screen right there. So now we're going up to the next phase of this little part of the early part of the stage. Some of these stages are pretty quick and easy, and then some of these stages are pretty long, and this is one of the longer ones. As you can see, we get to start off with an Andor, a Leon, and an Elec, and the Elec got to me. So as you can see, sometimes I'll do that. If there's a guy on the side of me, I will move them to the other side so I can get all 3 of them together, because I'd rather have the 3 guys together than just 2 out of the 3. And so that's what I'm doing right here, getting 2 of these guys together, and just like so, now I have them all together, and now I'm just going to take them out. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to throw that Andor at the end, so I'm waiting for him to come back. So there we go, get rid of him. I wanted to do some knee kicks to him, but that's okay. So again, I'm taking out the barrel, but that's something I don't want to do. And as you can see here, I'm trying to set up so I can throw the guy, but it's not working, so I'm just going to take him out. You can actually despawn your enemies right there. And as you can see, that shot actually had a little bit of health left, and he came in and he just died. And there it goes. There's the Leon and Roberts jumping in, not doing a thing, but yet that somehow hurts you. And then there I go. I get destroyed by just an ankle. Thank you, Leon. Alright. Andor, another Andor, and an Elic. Finish these guys off, and this is the first stage of the round 3. Here we go. All right, and there you go. Again, ton of Andors. Those are going to try to give you a ton of Andors, and they, like I said, they have a ton of health. So this is one area where I keep the barrel on the screen for a little bit, so I take out 2 guys at once instead of having 3 guys coming in. And the reason for that is that there's a lot of enemies that have a lot of health after a while. And especially these 2 guys. These 2 guys are just interesting enemies all around. And then at the end, again, let's just throw in another Andor or 2, and let's get beat up by the Andors. All right, here we go. Let's just get beat up by the Andors. And then as you notice, I'm not wanting to do those combo hits, but yet I'm doing those combo hits. There we go. All right. Now I got the Andors grouped together, and as you can see, the game is kind of like figuring out, okay, who's getting hit here? Who's getting hit? Andor Jr., Andor Jr.? But both of them are getting destroyed, and then we're taking them out pretty easily. All right. So this is the second stage of this level, and we're gonna get to the boss fight here very soon. This area here is pretty simple and easy. This section right here is actually one of the easier sections, as you can see. Now, if I can get the Atlas stuck in that as you can probably hear me say, the grab is ridiculously far. Yes, their grabs are ridiculous sometimes as you're trying to hit them. Trying to hit them with a special, because the special actually takes a good chunk of damage. So these 2 barrels right here, I'm getting rid of these 2 barrels just because I need enemies to spawn on the screen. But I'm keeping these 2 on the screen just because I don't want to have 3 guys at once, and then I take them out, and I'm like, okay, now I just need to get them. And now I got more Andors. Again, let's finish off with another one. G Andor, Andor Jr., Elic. As you can see, I'm now getting these guys locked in together. Now the 8 other different difficulties of this game is really interesting. You have easy, normal, hard, and expert, and they're all interesting runs because you'll have different enemies spawn right there instead of what I just got for expert. You'll get like Marks and Elijahs and shots and stuff like that instead of having Andors. So in that section that I just completed before I got to the bottom, down here into the sewer area, you would normally face 1 Andor, but I got 2 instead in expert. So that's the difference that you're going to deal with in these games, in the difficulties. They'll add on more characters in the certain spots that you're working on. Now here's some Joes. Joes will throw out some fire, and they can work to your advantage actually. If the enemy decides to land in the fire, it can help you get a lot of damage in there, and it helps a ton when you're trying to get rid of, especially like Andors and Eliases and Atlases and those guys. Those can help you big time. Alright, here we go. Bracken. Okay, again, we're going to try to set up the stun lock, and notice that I'm trying to get to this far side here, and that's the reason why I want to deal with Bracken. I got really lucky that I hit Leon with that punch. Okay, so now we're setting up Bracken right here. We want to try to keep him in the loop as much as we can, but it's really tough to do, especially when you got guys on your left and right, just like I had there. So I'm trying to get out of the way. Sometimes you can get a Joe to hit Bracken, and that's really good. That can help you with a lot of damage. And Bracken just like decides, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna toss you across the map. But again, it's really hard compared to the easy percent runs, normal percent runs, of trying to get the guy stuck in this stun lock. Now there's no more enemies coming out. I've taken out all the enemies, and now it's just me and Bracken, and we are going to now take him out. And as you can see, he can't do anything once I got him in this loop. and we're going to end them with a couple knees to the gut, and we're done with Holland. Finally. It's a hard fight, but at the same time, um, you can get that loop for a while. There's some hidden extra lives in certain places throughout the game, and I'm definitely going to utilize them as I can. Another thing I was trying to do right there is trying to get rid of the Atlas, but I was unsuccessful. I was too far over where I needed to be, um, more closer to the left side of the screen with them. And that's what you want to do. You want to try to, if you can get rid of guys in certain areas of the game, it's better. It's one less enemy you have to deal with, and it actually saves a little bit of time when you get it done right, actually. All right, and I didn't use the barrel because the barrel actually despawns one extra guy. So if I hit that barrel, I had to face one extra guy, on this screen, and so that's something that I've actually figured out after a while. In one of my other runs that I just did recently, that's how I was able to figure out and how able to get a faster last stage run was due to the fact that I despawned one little guy. Just one guy made a difference, in that stage. This is the reason why it's a little bit tougher to run expert percent here with Carlos. You just deal with a guy who's like Elliot, who just decides, you know what, I'm just gonna mess around with you. Now I'm gonna use this jump idea that I was telling about earlier to get rid of the Atlas, because after a while you're just getting tired of the blocking, and they do that a ton in this game. All right, so here we go. Leons and Roberts, there's those jumping attacks that somehow hit you. They're doing absolutely nothing. They hit you. All right. And we're going to end off with, I believe, an Andor or two. I can't remember if it's one or two for this version. Most of the time you'll have one. Let's see, do I get one? Yep, I just one. And if you can see how much health, look at his health value. It's like a light blue greenish color. It's like a blue green. And that just tells you how much health he has. He has a ton of health. So this is going to be a little while. So I'm just like hitting him and trying to get, the health value to go down as fast as I can. And trying to use the knees to the gut to help me out here. Because like I said, after a while, the fingers start to hurt as you're trying to mash the attack button over and over and over again. And so I'm doing this the entire time, just mashing. Again, trying to use the knees to the gut to help me out. And that's the first part of London. And now we're into the second part. And England is one of the quicker stages in this game. It's probably the fastest stage by far. Looking at what I can do here, it's probably one of the faster stages. You'll see why. The boss fight is just incredible. The boss fight can get done really, really quickly, and we'll show that boss fight here shortly. Alright, so we're on top of a train, and we're still looking for our friends. Haven't found our friends yet. But again, we're dealing with Eliases, we're dealing with Elliots, we're dealing with all this kind of stuff going on. It's like, give me the easier guys. Nope, let's throw in an Andor again with with a blue-green health value bar. So you can hear, if you can hear my commentary throughout this run, it's just, it gets a little bit tougher and tougher. So as you can see, I'm just like, okay, can I make it through this part? Can I make it through this part? And so here I am trying to get through these Andors. And again, I'm trying to do, after a while, I'm trying to just set them up so I could do a couple knees to the gut and call it a day with them. But if I can, I'm pretty sure though, the longer I keep them in the loop of just doing the stun lock, the better it is actually. And there it is, another Andor, another super health value there, and now I got the Elic involved, and then it's like I lost it, and like I said, it's hard to keep it in there for a good while, especially with these guys with the bigger health values. Like that Elias had some green. He's got a huge health value now. And it's like, oh, gotta keep this going. Gotta keep this going. So we're almost actually to the end of this stage. These guys are like the last few guys you have to deal with. But as you can see, it's like it's taking a while. It's taking a while. Okay, Andor, you're done. Oh, another Elic, comes in and then takes you out after you think you've just completed everybody. All right, now moving on, getting Elias out of the way. Elics actually go by really quickly. They really get done fast with the punches, and so that's why I do it with them. But I'm pretty sure just keeping them on the punch loop is the fastest way to handle them. And see, there's what I'm just talking about. If I can get these Joes to get that fire on them, and it's a lot easier to deal with. And now for the last little bit, I just deal with these Joes. And a guy, one of them threw one. I don't know if you saw that, but one of them throws one from where you're standing, and then you just get rocked by it. All right, so here we go. We're going to the Philippe fight, or you could say maybe Felipe. There's a hidden barbecue right there. And we'll just do this. Philippe actually goes down really quickly. He takes a good smack to the chest there. His health values go down really quick. His will go the fastest out of all the boss fights in this game. So he's the fastest fight in the game, and you can see how valuable it is if you could keep the boss fight in the stun lock the entire time. That it saves a good chunk of time, and I got a good time save there. Break the drum bonus. You're gonna see me take a L on this one. This is not my best effort. Let's just put it that way. These oil drums will catch on fire, and I'm just getting owned. This is a bonus stage that I'm not very good at right now, as I'm still learning the game itself, and still getting better at it throughout. But this is tough to do. As you can see, I'm just like, I can't do this stage. I can't do this bonus stage. It's just bad. All right, so we are 30 minutes in. Okay, so we're 30 minutes into the run, and we get these last two stages. The last stage itself takes about 15 minutes to do, and you'll see why in a second. But we're in Italy right now, and in this stage here, this is it's not a hard start at the beginning. This is Elic and you get and of course an Andor. Yep, you get an Andor to finish this first section off. As you can see, these Andors just appear more and more as we go along throughout this game. It's like, oh great, we got to deal with an Andor after we just dealt with 3 Elics or something like that. So what I'm going to do is after this Andor is I'm going to set it up for where I need to despawn one of these characters, and I'm going to go for the Atlas. The Elias or Elliot, I can't remember if it's Elias or Elliot that comes in, but I'm going to do my best to get rid of the Atlas, because the Atlas gets up slowly, and this is the reason why I go for him. I throw him out, and then I try to move over to the far right as fast as I can, and I have been successful. So with that Leon appearing, that means I despawn the Atlas, which is actually a good little time save, because now I don't have to deal with the Atlas and then the Leon afterwards. Alright, got this Robert now. Notice that I have not hit that box, and it's for good reason. I do not want to deal with 3 guys on the screen right now. Alright, we got these Johnnies in here. They're just like the Atlases. They are a pain in the butt. As you see, I'm trying to get them into that stun lock, and that Johnny messed up the stun lock. But here we go, get this other stun lock going, and there you go. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do the stun lock really fast. I'm trying to not get the Johnny out of the stun lock. So I'm moving it as fast as I can to make sure it doesn't happen. And so this is a good way to get rid of the Johnnies. You just stand over them until they're dead. And then we're going to see if we can, yep, and we got them in the stun lock. Get it, get it. Yep. All right. So this is not too bad to start off Italy. Now we're on a little boat. It's like a little tourist boat that you're going to find out here in a second. All right, got all three together. That's very good here. And then got the Andor. Now you got the Leon, and you couldn't. Oh, I couldn't keep it up. Again, it's like that same thing I was telling you guys earlier. It's hard to keep the stun lock going when a guy decides to come in. And so there's something that we are lucky to have here on this part, and this is what I need. This is what I love to do, is when you have the wall again. When you have a wall here, you can use that to your advantage. And so what I'll do is I'll just let this Andor just get punch, 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 and I'm not doing it correctly. I want to get him into a point where I could grab and then knee him in the gut again, but I'm doing the combo, and I don't want to do that. There we go. That's what I want to do. I want to grab, knee, and then get that extra additional damage that's a little bit more than just the normal punches. Because, yeah, the punches do well, but it takes a little while. Alright, here we go. We're going to pick up an invincibility that's behind this pole. And look, here, there's some tourists that are celebrating. Hey, yay! Yay, you're doing such a good job. Woohoo! Yay! Hooray! Hooray! Take out the guys! Yay! The ladies in the background's clapping. I hope that guy's getting some good pics of me just like destroying these dudes. At least that's what I hope. I'm hoping for all three of those guys to be done at the same time. There we go. Alright, there we go. You get both of those guys, and there we go. Okay, now I'm going to work on trying to despawn a couple of guys right here. If I do this just right, I can despawn almost all three of those, but I did not do that correctly because I decided to hit and not throw. But that's okay. They were pretty quick anyway. And there's the Elix decides to do that. Now we got them all three together. There we go. Take all three of them out at the same time. Boom. And then here we go again. Let's get all three of them. Woohoo. Getting all three of them together makes that a little bit quicker and easy. And then the last one right here. Yes, they made an odd number. 7 of those. And we just take them out with a couple knees to the gut. Alright. Moving on. Moving on to the last little part before the boss fight. You can go into this little elevator here, and you're going to just face some dudes. But again, a wall helps you so much. And here's the reason why. So I'm going to take this guy from this Leon, throw him to the left side, and just put him to the wall like so. And then Leon decides, hey, I'm just going to jump out of it. And see, this is the reason why it's good to have a wall. Because you can do this and keep them stuck in that wall right there. And it makes this a lot easier to handle. Look at that. And as you can see, I'm taking out these dudes pretty quickly. And then again, I lose the stun lock after a while because it just gets tiring after a while doing it over and over and over again. Again, it's a taxing game on the fingers when you're mashing. There we go. That's a good little section here. Okay, so now we're going to go to the boss fight. And this boss fight can be really tricky, or you can keep him in a stun lock as long as you can. This is Roland, and he's going to... You got to try to keep him in a stun lock as long as you can. If you have him next to the wall, it's a lot easier to keep him in the stun lock. If you don't have him against the wall, he could get out of it after a little bit of time. As you can see, he's moving a little bit. He's kind of trying to get out of it. And I noticed that was going to happen. And so what I'm hoping he doesn't do after I knock him down to the ground is I'm hoping he doesn't jump up and jump off the wall. I'm hoping he does that little punch to me. I'm hoping he doesn't do that. So I'm hoping he does the little punch. But if he does that, then I can maneuver to one side. He's going to kick at the other side, and I'm just going to keep him in this loop. Now this is where I can't keep it. So once he gets down into the yellow, he'll start throwing grenades down. And you're trying to catch him, and I messed that up again. And so I'm trying to keep him throwing grenades like so, and then boom, there we go, we're done. So if we're keeping them in the loop, it's an easy fight. An easy percent, it's a much easier fight to keep them in versus expert because it's so much health you're trying to knock down. Alright, we're in the final stage of the game. We're in Japan. We finally realize, hey, they're our friends are here in Japan, so we need to go take them out. We need to go take out the last boss in Japan. This is a very long stage. This will take a good chunk of time, like about 15 minutes um, at least. This stage is a lot of everything. You get atlases that have green health, and you're going to see that I'm going to utilize those. Um, as you can see there, I'm utilizing those mines for this reason, so I can knock out their health pretty fast. There you go. And see that I want that to happen because I want their health to go down quicker, and the mines do that for me. All right, deal with one more Leon, and then we can move on to the next part. Okay, this will end the first section of Japan. Japan's broken up into 5 different parts here, and this is why it's a longer section. They took out my landmines pretty quickly there. So, and those are the guys I don't want to take out the landmines. But as we're moving along, here we go. Got the Elliots, we got the Leons, we got the Roberts, and we got Andor Jr. Of course, let's finish it off with an Andor. So here we go. Messed up right there. Very simple. When he charges, anytime the enemy charges, you can stop him with Leon's punches as long as you're mashing a ton, and it will stop the Elix charges sometimes. If they're in electricity, most likely you will get hit by the electricity. But if they're not doing electricity, the Elix will go down a lot easier. So here we go, just doing some more mashing, using the gut kicks whenever needed. Now I'm just gonna utilize this at the very end, and then there we go. We're done with the first part of Japan. Okay, this is the longest section of Japan. This is the second part here. We're in like a garden here that we're going through. And again, did I mention that they're gonna basically throw the kitchen sink at you? Yeah, they're gonna just throw everything at you here. And the Elic took me out again. Alright, trying to utilize this stun lock to my advantage. I mean, you're even having the Jacks have like green health. The Atlases have green health. The Eliases have green health. Even the Elijahs. I mean, every enemy that you're getting into throughout this game has now got green health. And you know what? Let's end with the Andor. Let's have a Mick get in here. Let's just throw everybody that we can at poor Carlos as he's trying to save his friends. Finally got the Atlas out of there. Oh, let's throw in one more Elic, because, we don't have enough Elics in the game right now. So as you can see, I'm now got both of them together. We're trying to hold on to our nice little stun lock. That's what we're doing. The entire game is trying to get this to happen, and it's just the health values. The health values are taking a ton of time here. They're taking a ton of time. Now the easy percent run can probably go a lot. Goes a lot faster, and that's even going world record paces too. As I'm developing more strats for it. Right now, the current record, and like I said, just set like a few days ago. These records are just being set by me a few days ago. The world record for this game was originally 1 hour and 12 minutes. I've brought it down to less than an hour now with Carlos, and it's due to the fact that we have this strat here that works brilliantly for all difficulties. One day I will go after the hard difficulty run as well. But as you can see, I'm using a wall to my advantage here. Pinning this Atlas against the wall and then just picking him up and just kneeing him. This actually goes by a lot faster when you do that instead of trying to get that stun lock. Alright, moving on. We're almost halfway through this section of this stage, and this is the longest one out of all of them. Okay, there's a hidden meat behind the left bottom tree. In the middle is a watch or some kind of point value there. And then on the far right is an extra life. I'm saving that extra life because I don't want to grab that immediately. I'm saving the barbecue so I can get it when my health is getting actually lower. And I'm watching the health very, very, very strategically as I do this because I don't want to lose another life before I get to the final part. The final part's this level. But you can have a ton of lives here, depending on the RNG, and the RNG is going to be very, very important here for the run. And like I said, this could definitely get another world record very easily as it's still in the infant stages of learning. And so here we go, finishing up with the Andor. I'm picking up the barbecue right there, and then I'm going to pick up the guy. And as you can see, I'm going to get extra lives for every 200,000 points. So I'm almost near my next extra life, which is very important because if I get that extra life, now I'll have 3 going into the dojo coming up here. And I get shocked by Elec, of course. That will happen a lot where you're doing good with something and all of a sudden a guy on the one side of you decides, "Oh, you know what? I'm just going to take you out right here. I'm going to take you out after you just beat these guys up." I don't know why I tried to do that. I had him up against the wall. I should have just grabbed him and then punched him. Alright, we're going to end this little part right here with the Andors, and then we're almost done with this second area of Japan stage. Alright. So again, putting these guys together and keeping them in the stun lock together as it's wigging out, trying to figure out, hey, is it Andor Jr.? Which one's getting hit? I don't know which one's getting hit. Well, I think they're both getting hit. Okay. So as it's going in between both of them, it's just a flurry of shots. A flurry of shots right there. And it's like I said, it's trying to keep it. At this point in the game, your fingers are almost dead. Your thumb is almost dead trying to keep up with what you've been doing the entire game. So I got that extra life, which is very important to the run so far. Getting that extra life will allow me to stay in the game a little bit longer instead of having to take a death. Now, this record could definitely go a lot lower if I don't take a death at any point in this game and use a continue. So if I can do a 1cc run, that's going to be the even crazier part to this whole thing. A 1cc run could probably save another minute to this game because you're basically going to lose a good chunk of time trying to get back into the next stage. Now, compared to Final Fight 1 and Final Fight 2, wherever you are at, this is the interesting thing, wherever you're at is where you will restart. So if I had finished this and I had lost all my lives right here at the very, very end, I would have had replayed the entire section again, this whole entire section right here, which would have lost me a good 10 minutes, I would probably say. I don't know how long I've been on this section right now. Okay, so more like 7 minutes. I would have lost at least a good 7 minutes, and so that would have set me back a ton. So I get through that second section. We're through it. We have 2 lives. Now we're on to the third section. I'm not going to hit that barrel because that barrel will spawn an extra Elias or Elliot. So I'm not going to hit that because now I get an Atlas instead, and that's who's actually supposed to come out, is an Atlas. Alright, so if I had to spawn an extra Elliot or Elias, it would have wasted a little bit more time because I would have had to group them together. But since I don't have that extra one, and that Atlas is going to come out anyway, so here we go. This is the Johnny Atlas section. Oh my gosh. Trying to get these guys together like so. And after a while, one of them will decide, hey, I'm going to start blocking. See? Just like that. And this is why it becomes a pain in the butt, because you're trying to get them set up into that loop, and it's tough. It is really tough to do. And so eventually you get one of them, and then it's like, okay, nope, he's out of it. Or you'll get all three of them for a little bit, and you're like, nope. And Atlas grabs me from afar. Okay, so then you're trying to get him again. And see, this is it's the reason why this section here is the worst. You will spend a good chunk of time trying to get these guys to cooperate, because you don't want to get all you don't if you try to attempt to grab one of them, it's going to end up not being good for you, because one of them will try to grab you or try to hit you as you're doing moves to the other. So you want to try to get them as much as you can into the stun lock feature. And I'm just trying to move around, trying to get them to dance with me for a little bit. There we go. So I decided to knock one of them down and made things a lot easier to get rid of the other one, and now we got rid of them. So here we go. Alright, now we're on to this little section here. We're almost done with the third part of this stage. I'm trying my best to get through this. I'm trying my best to get through this little area without losing all my lives, and there's good reason for that. If I lose my lives again right here, I will lose probably 3 to 4, maybe 5 minutes on my time, and I will lose a good chunk of time if I lose all my lives right now. And so what I'm doing is I'm trying to do my best to make sure it doesn't happen. So this is the last elic on this last little section. Okay, now we're on the last little bit right here to this third part. This is the last section to this third part. Okay, the Robert didn't come at me, which is a good thing. That could have been really, really bad. The Atlas is in good position until he does that. Well, that's okay. The Robert didn't jump at me, which is a good thing. Okay, took out that. So that Robert, those two Roberts could have been really, really bad or really, really good. Trying to keep the Atlas in the loop right now. And these two Atlases are just going to be a pain in the butt. Now we have an elic involved. Oh, we got him in the loop. We got him in the loop. Come on, keep. Oh, see, and that's what you're trying to do. You're like, oh, you think you had it. You think you had him. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get one of them over. And I'm trying to use the wall idea. This side right here is a wall. If I can grab one and throw one, or get one together. And there we go. Finally got him. Now we're moving on. So now I'm realizing, okay, if I clear out this whole section, I'm going to lose a ton of time. So I decided to take a intentional death here, so I can get a continue and get 5 lives back and move on. And if you notice where my score is at, that's also been very important too here. My score is so close to get an extra life that I decided, okay, if I can have 6 lives, the better. So this is the exact reason why I take this intentional death right at this perfect moment. So now I got my 6th life, and so now I'm able to know for sure that I'm going to make it through the rest of this game without using another continue. Again, these Joes are going to throw in here. These Joes are going to help me out a little bit, get some good damage on these Eliases and Elliots. There's a ton of Joes coming out there. Okay. Alright, so I want to get over there as fast as I can, but I didn't do a good job of that. What happens is if I move over there really quickly, this elic does not spawn. And I also found out something really interesting about this barrel right here that I don't do in this run, but I found out in a later run of easy percent or normal percent. I can't remember which one. I think it was a normal percent run when I found this. So that barrel is actually going to be very important here, because after you beat this section with all these guys, the next section has a Johnny and an elic that appear, and you're going to see that right immediately. You're going to see that immediately. So I hit that barrel, and so after I'm done with this Andor Jr., you're going to see that an elic and a Johnny come out. So Andor Jr. is almost done. I'm going to stun lock him, and then finally kick. Okay, so I get a Johnny and an Elick right there, and there's me getting shocked in the air. Okay, so that Elick and Johnny will appear. If I didn't hit that barrel earlier, only an Elick will appear. And that will be actually very essential because if you think about it, this Johnny will take a chunk of your time trying to get him out. Um, as I'm taking it out the Elix and stuff like that with ease, this Johnny is a pain in the butt because he's not going to go down very easily. He's not going to want to be nice with you. And at the same time, you deal with an extra Johnny or an Atlas because you're going to get another Atlas here soon that you guys will see. So it's actually a time waster. See, now you have 3 of these guys. So if I didn't take out that barrel, I would only had to mess with 2 of those. And so I actually figured that out, again, like I said, in a normal easy percent run after the fact of this run. So that's something that is going to be utilized. And I'm going to explore more about those barrels and those boxes because I wonder if less enemies spawn due to that fact. So we're going to take a look at that as we do this run. So hopefully this run will get submitted. Now here we go. At the end here, we're at the very end of this portion of the stage of Japan. Okay, like I said, there's 5 parts here. We're down to the end of the 4th part here. And then to the 5th part will actually be the boss fight, which will be nice because it's the final boss. And we are getting very, very close to the end. Final Fights have become a game that I've just been loving to play now. It's a very fun game to play off the SNES. It's got these little quirks, kind of like Batman Returns. I'm also a Batman Returns speedrunner for SNES, and it's got these little quirks where you just stun lock guys, and you just keep a stun lock going, and you don't even have to beat them up, throw them to the ground. The more times the guys go down to the ground, the more time you waste. And so if you can figure out a way to keep the guys standing up the entire time, the better. So I'm going to hit this barrel, get the meat. That was a stupid idea because I'm going to get grabbed here in a second. See, there you go. But again, trying to get the atlases. And again, I'm noticing that the wall's there. I'm going to throw these guys as much as I can to the wall. And it's to my advantage because the wall will help me maneuver these guys and take them out with ease, especially when I get one of them in a stun lock and then I can damage the other. And so now I can just do kicks to them just like so. And now we're to the very, very end of the game. Okay. Ritu, here we go. And here we go. Let's go. Okay, what didn't happen was this. I wanted to get him into the stun lock right off the bat. Didn't get that. It's really hard to get this one into a stun lock. As you can see, the white health value, it's just means he has a lot of health to deal with. So I'm trying to keep him in the stun lock as much as I can, but he likes to jump out. Compared to the easy percent and normal percent runs, he doesn't jump out of it really quickly. This one he kind of does. You want to try to kind of get it into him, but in this boss fight, and like I said, the boss fights are a little bit tougher to get this stun lock going. And if you can get a good chunk into the stun lock, the better. And so like I'm trying to do right there, but I mean it's tough. It's tough with Ritu. Alright. Still trying to... And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to avoid his attacks as much as possible. So when he's done... I'm telling myself I do not want to lose all 3 of these lives. And yes, that could have been a really, really bad thing. But I would have just restarted right here instead. And I probably would have lost a minute or 2 just because of what I'm dealing with in this fight so far. But he is being a pain in the butt. And this is how he can be. It's just the RNG right now. The RNG is not working in my favor. It's not working in my favor. I'm just trying to get him down the green. I'm trying to get him down the yellow. But he's just staying there. So here we go. Now we get a nice little loop right here. Again, you want to try to get him in a loop as much as you can. When you get to the halfway point on the yellow, he moves. He does move. You will not hit him anymore, and then boom, last hit, time stops, bam, and there is the run. There is the run. The cool thing is on expert, you get the true ending. So you get the true ending at the very very end. You save. You save their friends. Yay! We saved them. Maki found their daddy. Yay! Carlos and Hagar. Yay! So this was a very good run. This is the first run that's under an hour for Carlos. It's a really really good, really really good game. The feature. It's very taxing. I mean, if you want a really good challenging run for a marathon to be shown, this is a really good challenging run for a beat 'em up. It's on expert. It's it's throwing enemies left and right at me. I would probably predict a good hour, 10 minutes as a good safe, and I'm not kidding, a safe estimate because I don't know what I'm gonna get. I've had a couple of runs where it's like, oh, I'm right there, um, with like losing all my lives versus not there with losing all my lives. Especially in this one, I only used one continue right there near the end of the game. If I don't use a continue at all, this run could go a ton faster. If I happen to use a continue in a bad place, I'm gonna lose time. So it's just all about safety strats and what I need to do and what I need to look at. Am I going to make it through a whole entire section? Is the section short or is it long? Is what it boils down to. So if I notice that the section is short and I have a couple lives, I'm probably going to go for it. But if it's a long section, then I'm probably going to um, take a you know accidental death and just I mean, you know, take the death and just move on with more lives. So this is the run. This is the Carlos expert run. A lot of can still be improved, and like I said, this was just set recently, so it's not. It's brand new still. It's getting better by the moment. It's a really fun run. Um, a lot of points where a lot of areas I can have donations to be read, and talk a little bit about the game, specific points here and there, and it's a good overall run to see, and it definitely brings out the challenge in the runner to do this run. So I hope you all like this, and I hope this gets into some marathons. So please consider this submission, and thanks for watching.